what is the reason that Indian media is specifically focusing on Bangladeshi army and have made such reports that there are signs of mutiny within Bangladeshi army?
Our army is absolutely in fine shape. The rumors that the Indians are spreading, this is so desperate. It's all aimed to sabotage Bangladesh's current regime. Let the Indians scream and shout and do whatever they like. But by the grace of Almighty Allah, our army is in good shape.
Indian media is continuously propagating against Bangladesh, highlighting different things. What could be the purpose behind such negativity through Indian media about Bangladesh, not only Bangladesh, but also about growing Bangladesh-Pakistan ties?
There is direct evidence that the Indians had participated in the killings in our country. Nepal, Sri Lanka, China, all of them are targets of Indian propaganda. And now they have now become desperate in targeting Bangladesh. They dream of unifying the Akhand Bharat. That will never happen. As long as Pakistan and Bangladesh are alive, we will never let it happen.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to Program Inside in V News English. Bangladeshi army has been recently in the spotlight. Foreign media as well as Indian media reported that there are signs of mutiny within Bangladeshi army. However, spokesperson for Bangladeshi army, Inter-Services Public Relations of Bangladeshi army, dismissed all such reports and said there is no truth in such reports, that there are signs of mutiny, and made it clear that command and chain of the command of Bangladeshi army is intact. And earlier, these whole things basically appeared in Indian media, which have been reporting about Bangladeshi army over the last couple of days, that allegedly a pro-Pakistani journal, Faiz Rahman, has been kept under observation. So, Inter-Services Public Relations of Bangladeshi army also dismissed the reports of India Today and Indian newspaper Economic Times, and made it clear that there is no truth in such reports. In today's program, we will try to explore and discuss that why Indian media is spreading news about Bangladeshi army and a possible change in the command of the Bangladeshi army at a time when Bangladeshi army has made it clear that all such reports are false and propaganda by Indian media. There is no such signs of mutiny, and the chain of the command under current Army Chief General Shahiduzzaman is intact. To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us renowned, very senior scholar and intellectual and senior analyst from Bangladesh, Professor Shahiduzzaman Saab, who has been long teaching different issues, particularly international relations, strategic studies, and have been to Pakistan, have been to many parts of the world, have been delivering lecture, have been writing. Professor Shahiduzzaman Saab, very warm welcome to Program Inside in V News English. So I would just like to, as I mentioned, to know that what is the reason that Indian media is specifically focusing on Bangladeshi army and have made such reports that there are signs of mutiny within Bangladeshi army, and allegedly a pro-Pakistani journal, as it was reported by BBC and Indian media, that General Faiz Rahman has been kept under observation. Your comments, please.
Thank you very much. It has been this Indian rumor factory that has been functioning for the last 6 months to downgrade Bangladesh and to downgrade all our institutions. First, they tried the communal card. For months together, the Indian media had been talking about genocide of Hindus in Bangladesh. It is so comical because the whole thing is absolutely cooked up. Recently, they've started taking shots at our army. Our military, the cantonment in Dhaka, is located hardly 2 kilometers from where I live. And I have scores of friends, retired generals and retired army officers who live in the cantonment and who are constantly in touch. Our army is absolutely in fine shape. There have been some issues regarding promotions. The people, officers who have been retired during the Hasina period, who are very sound professionals, they had been putting up their demands that they should be reinstated. But in terms of the rumors that the Indians are spreading, this is so desperate. It's all aimed to sabotage Bangladesh's current regime and the wonderful reputation that Professor Yunus has earned all over the world. The army hierarchy is in excellent shape. We have had regular participation by army officers and the Jawans in any area of concerns. Suppose there is a natural calamity or any civil concern, the army comes in aid of the civil power. There is a wonderful interaction between civilians and the military. Now, as for the concerned General, Lieutenant General Faiz, he is the most brilliant officer right now among the lieutenant generals, in my opinion. He is the quartermaster general of the army. He started his career, he secured the Sword of Honor and has distinguished record as a para commando and also for his services at the United Nations. He has been promoted in a very regular manner and he is literally the right-hand man of the army chief, General Shahiduzzaman. I have had a chance to meet him and spend about 2 hours with him when he had his previous role as the Director General of the Forces Intelligence. I have found him to be so well informed and it's very sound strategist. The Indians have picked him up as a target because they know that Lieutenant General Faiz, who has an excellent contact link with international forces abroad, especially like the arms purchase sectors in Turkey, Iran, Pakistan. He has been a prolific learner and a scholar within the army. He has been playing a very solid role in terms of buying equipment like drones and artillery pieces. As you know, in very recently there have been concerns in Bangladesh that the Indians might try some adventurism in our Bay of Bengal coast or in the northern border near the Chinese frontiers that the Indians have, the Siliguri corridor. Because of that, we have taken precautions to deploy advanced weapons. Our drones have been flying regularly, and Lieutenant General Faiz has been working day and night to keep up the level of preparation. What really brought him to the limelight was when a Pakistan military delegation visited Dhaka, and it was Lieutenant General Faiz who sort of hosted them and took them around. That is when the Indians began to go after him, and they have tainted him as a Jamaat person. Faiz is an extremely intelligent, modern person. He is the father of a single daughter who studies in the medical college, happily married. He even told me about visiting the zoo, which he has in his residence, where he really takes care of his animals, and he fondly looks after the pastimes of his daughter. He's a happily married man and he's serving well in the army, and inshallah he will be climbing up in the future. Let the Indians scream and shout and do whatever they like, but by the grace of Almighty Allah, our army is in good shape. We are putting them around in the hill tracts in anticipation of problems that may be created by the Indians trying to encourage insurgency. We are deploying, we have 10 divisions of the army, and a powerful division has been deployed in case there is a spillover in the crisis in Arakan, where the Arakan army is involved in a fight against the Tatmadaw. So overall, our security status is excellent, And hopefully, Professor Yunus, only yesterday, when the Secretary General of the United Nations came to Cox's Bazar and spent a whole day with the Rohingya refugees, and in fact had iftar with 1 lakh refugees joining in the iftar. The army chief was sitting right next to Professor Yunus, and there was excellent coordination. Many of the army brigadiers and generals escorted the Secretary General. Everything was in great order, and we couldn't be more happy than we are today with the excellent performance of our military. So let the Indians scream, let them
Scream and
shout.
cry.
Their rubbish, their rubbish propaganda is such third grade, so poor that we really pity them. You know, when you carry out a propaganda, you should have some quality. These the Americans preach propaganda. They do it in a subtle manner, but the Indians are just naked liars. They don't have any shame. They don't have any sense of regret. All they're doing is they're spoiling the chances for a meeting with our chief advisor next month at the BIMSTEC conference, which will occur in Thailand. That's the reality as far as I am concerned.
Well, Sahib, you very nicely elaborated all the facts and said that Bangladeshi Army's command is intact. Army Chief General Waqaruzzman is having full-fledged command over army, and these all things are Indian propaganda. Please also put light on continuous negative reporting by Indian media since 5th August 2024, the day when Hasina Wajid government finally left, resigned. Since that, and since taking over of this new interim government, and since that, we have seen Indian media is continuously propagating against Bangladesh, highlighting different things. What could be the purpose behind such negativity through Indian media about Bangladesh, not only Bangladesh, but also about growing Bangladesh-Pakistan ties?
Exactly. Thank you for excellent questions. Now, the real reason, other than to downgrade and to humiliate the new government and also to downgrade Professor Yunus, there are other reasons. The real subtle reasons are the fact that the Indians have been exposed in participating in the killings that occurred during the month of July and August when the students were fired by Hasina's troops. And it is now clearly proved that the Indian stormtroopers had entered Bangladesh, and there is direct evidence that the Indians had participated in the killings in our country. Now, all of it has been recorded by the United Nations Human Rights Commission. All the evidence is already there, and there is very strong likelihood that the trial of Sheikh Hasina and the Awami Leaguers would go up to the International Criminal Court. There has been a lot of interest shown in this regard by the commissioner of the chairman of the Human Rights Commission who had visited Dhaka. And there has been a lot of speculation that ultimately the Indians cannot hide their involvement in the killings. Now, this is exactly the real reason why they are trying to humiliate Bangladesh and is trying to taint all sorts of allegations about killings of Hindus, about killings. Recently, some of their journalists even came to Bangladesh and many of the Hindus were interviewed. One of them was asked, would you like to come to India and leave Bangladesh? And he just asked point blank, why? Why should I leave my homeland? What for? What's good in India? What is it that India can offer me better than my homeland? He said it so confidently and so sincerity that that poor journalist went back to Calcutta and had to tell his friends that the whole Indian propaganda machinery is nothing but big lies. So as I can tell you, there is a very good chance that if within the next 2 months the trial of Sheikh Hasina is shifted to the International Criminal Court, Prime Minister Modi will be involved. The Indians will be exposed. And the visit of the United Nations Secretary General right now, he's in Dhaka. He just had his parting press conference All his positive statements about the way Professor Yunus has been taking care of the Rohingyas and also taking care of reforms to be made prior to elections, all of it indicates that the United Nations will completely be on our side if the trials are shifted to the International Criminal Court. That is what is really turning the Indians crazy. That is what is really, we can now understand the level of, the Indian propaganda that goes on against most other South Asian states, against Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, China. All of them are targets of Indian propaganda. And now they have now become desperate in targeting Bangladesh. God help them. God may be kind enough to give some sense to these Indian crooks.
Professor, as you
That's
are
all
aware,
I.
yes, Professor, as you are well aware that when Hasina Wajid was Prime Minister of India, she has given complete space to Indian intelligence, particularly raw, to operate, to penetrate. And it was Bangladesh had become a proxy of India at that time. Is the current screaming and crying of India and negative reporting from India is the reason that after the fall of Hasina Wajid government, that Indian space has been closed now in Bangladesh. Bangladeshi people have also turned against India, and India has to close all such camps, and their operatives and their secret agents had to run away. So, is it that reason that Bangladeshis have closed space for Indian intelligence on its soil?
Yes, that is a big reason too. We have been totally, attacked, invaded by their agents, and there have been local people, army leaguers, who have served the raw. Now, during the last several months, the police has and the law enforcement agencies has carried out a mission. It's called Operation Hunt, something like that, hunting. Almost every day during the last 2 months, Indian agents and fifth columnists have been captured and arrested, and all most of these Indian raw stations have been closed down. But there is a lot of task to be done. We are very conscious and very sensitive to any Indian activity, and especially their agents who have tried to sabotage the economic life. Very often there has been unexplainable incidents that have occurred. You have seen it happen in Pakistan. The Indians have been trying to carry out terrorist attacks in lower
Particularly the
state,
recent
like.
one in Balochistan, exactly. The recent one in Balochistan on Jafar Express.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly. Well, we have been following it, and our heart goes really burning out of our sense of sadness for the innocent victims. And we really appreciate, I really have all my admiration for the wonderful role played by the Pakistan Army, especially the frontier force, many of who have risked their lives to save the passengers. And we really look at it as a matter of pride. We hope that in case if there are acts of sabotage in our country, we will also act similarly. It was extremely heartwarming to say that the Pakistan armed forces did not surrender to the terrorists. They carried out their missions, and they tried their best to make this revolt, this insurgent attempt fail. And we really hope that we will be able to learn lessons from it. And I'm certain that the Indians have been involved in it, while the Taliban in Afghanistan have played a role by their admission. But we know that the Indians have linked up with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and the Indians must have poured money the way they do in Bangladesh too. They've been trying to sabotage our economic life, trying to pour money among the dissidents. And this sort of planning goes on in Kolkata. There are even rumors that many of these Awami people who ran away to India. They have been trying to scheme out, plans, and the way they have turned towards the cantonment. They tried. They must have been desperate, but hopefully, all our people are so united. Even if there is the slightest sign of Indian disruptions, people really bounce back. And inshallah, everybody is loyal and confident about Professor Yunus trying to set the economy back on the rails. We have some huge depth, and inshallah, very soon, within the next few days, Professor Yunus will travel to China, the much anticipated visit to China, for which the Chinese president has even offered to send a plane to take Professor Yunus to the Bao Economic Summit, as it is called. And hopefully, we will be able to work out a new phase of relationship with China. And China is going to, as you know, give us very useful military support so that our capability to counter Indian adventurism is further strengthened. We are looking forward to both China and Pakistan joining us in our endeavor to safeguard our sovereignty.
That's great. And inshallah, China and Pakistan will stand firm behind Bangladesh, and particularly efforts to stabilize economy, efforts to stabilize Bangladeshi security. If Bangladesh is now stable, that means entire South Asia is stable. And growing Bangladesh-Pakistani ties mean that there is more friendship in South Asia. Recently, Professor Shahiduzzaman Sahab, you have seen just 2, 3 weeks back, a senior Pakistani diplomat and ex-Pakistani High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Mr. Imran Ahmed Siddiqui, had visited Bangladesh. And he held meetings with a number of top officials, including Commerce Secretary, including many other officials. Purpose was to strengthen bilateral relations and also discuss agenda when next month Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mr. Ishaq Dar would be visiting Bangladesh and would be meeting Dr. Yunus. How was this recent visit by Imran Ahmed Siddiqui to Bangladesh, who had served already in Bangladesh? So what do you think in the days to come, things and issues and matters between two countries will further improve?
Inshallah, it will improve. I know Ambassador Imran Ahmed Siddiqui, he was the previous High Commissioner in Dhaka. Unfortunately, despite his brilliant academic background, he was not able to, carry out his activities because of the Hasina regime, which really made his visit rather uneventful. But I had a chance to see him when he was ambassador. He invited me over for dinner. We had a wonderful time. When he came here this time, he's in charge of South Asia at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Islamabad. He met the Foreign Secretary. He met the Commerce Secretary. I think he even met the Commerce Minister, and he had a very fruitful visit. I saw the images in the television. It seemed to me that he was elated to see the change that has taken place in the relationship. The ships now ply between the two countries, and these are headline news. Whenever a Pakistani ships enters across the Bay of Bengal to Chittagong port, there is huge claps among the audience watching it on television. Hopefully, what we really anticipate should occur very soon are direct flights. Already the younger generation have started going to Pakistan. There is so much coverage in our television about the wonderful sights like Skardu, the valley in Chitral, Kalam. These are all seen by the travel agencies in Dhaka, and many of these travel agencies are already booking the flights. Now the flight from via Dubai or via Bangkok cost around 101 lakh and about 10,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees, which by Pakistani standard is higher. Once we have the direct flights, which will occur soon,
Cost will come down.
the cost will come down, hopefully. Dhaka Bangkok flights cost us around 40,000 taka. So Dhaka Karachi flights should be around, hopefully 50,000 Bangladeshi taka and maybe around a lakh of Pakistani rupee. So then you will see a flood of Bangladeshi visitors who are going to visit, who are crazy about seeing the frontier province, Pakhtunkhwa. They are very eager about the food in Lahore. There is so much being shown about the great, kebabs, the chapli kebabs of Lahore and Peshawar,
Wow.
and Pakistani restaurants are coming up fast in Dhaka. Pakistani kebab delicacies are now very popular in Dhaka. And hopefully, we'll have more visits, exchanges among the universities. Pakistani investment is increasing. We will have more and more Pakistani commodities. Most of our shops are full of very favorable Pakistani, items. All Pakistani textiles are so popular in Dhaka. All sorts of home cookeries and everything. All Pakistani delicacies are of high quality, and they're very popular. But more than anything else, now there is a public awareness of how much we can evolve gradually. We will develop our relationship gradually but confidently. Inshallah, we will restore our trust and we will be standing by each other's side to face this common menace of India. Inshallah, all things are going in the right direction.
Professor, there was an organization known as SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Organization was created to enhance connectivity, trade, people-to-people contact, cultural linkage, interstate cooperation, trade and economic ties. But unfortunately, due to negative attitude of India, this SARC is dysfunctional now. Now the regime in Bangladesh is changed, and previous regime used to dance on Indian tunes. What do you think that in the days to come, the SARC should be revived? Because that is an organization which is meant for greater cooperation among South Asian states.
Exactly. This should have been revived. And Professor Yunus had right when he took over, he had requested that India should cooperate with us to revive SARC. He really had a lot of faith, a lot of interest to revive SARC, especially because of connectivity that it can offer. But unfortunately, the Indian intransigence, the Indian resistance is absolutely irrational and illogical. We see that the Indians have decided that they would bury SARC. And recently, when our foreign affairs advisor had a meeting in Bahrain with the Indian foreign minister Jaishankar, he raised the issue of SARC. But unfortunately, Indian foreign minister Jaishankar, set it aside, and he in fact suggested that Bangladesh should focus more on BIMSTEC. In fact, this year Bangladesh will chair the BIMSTEC. But we know very well that the BIMSTEC hardly has a future, especially when it involves both Thailand and Myanmar. Thailand is more interested in ASEAN, and Myanmar is so badly trying to survive as a country that it has really no interest in BIMSTEC. But yet, the Indians like to forget SARC and they want to focus on BIMSTEC. But they do so to obstruct direct flights between Dhaka and Karachi and Dhaka and Lahore. We really want that the SARC, if the SARC could be reintroduced. In fact, I still remember in the 80s and 90s, we used to avail the SARC tickets, the air ticket. I even took my students to Pakistan twice. We flew by PIA from India, from Delhi to Lahore and back, and we had 39% students concession, and we availed it. The Indian embassy in Dhaka tried to stop us from going to Pakistan, but we told them there back in 1989 that they had signed the SARC convention, which ensures direct air flights among in the capitals. But this is something we want to revive. In fact, I floated the idea of a direct train route from Dhaka to Lahore. I spoke of it in our television, and but we are almost certain that the Indians will faint if we threw this proposal to them. But it's quite a feasible idea. If we have a train journey between Dhaka and Lahore, it will probably take 3 days, because the Indians, they ply a train from Assam all the way to Rajasthan. It's called the Assam Awadh Express. It takes 4 days and it goes every day. So if the Indians can, travel train, we will. If we go from Dhaka to Lahore by train, it will take 3 days, and the price of the ticket will be maybe around 5,000 rupees, taka. Then it will become more easy for Bangladeshis and Pakistanis to travel between the two countries. It will be cheaper. But unfortunately, we are sandwiched, we are at the two flanks of a very peculiar country, which is so different from the rest of the world. They don't allow a train journey, a train route between us, and far from it, even we cannot have a train link from Dhaka to Nepal. For years together, the Indians have sabotaged. Now the Indians want to go directly from Kolkata to Agartala in Tripura, and they want to use our territory. In fact, Hasina had allowed them, and they had used our Padda bridge, which has been opened, to go to Agartala and to Assam in a fraction of the time, because now they would have to go all around, which would take around 20 hours. But if they go directly through Bangladesh, it would hardly take 6 hours. But we have stopped it. And this present government has absolutely vetoed that train. And I have suggested that first they'll have to allow us to have a direct train journey from Dhaka to Lahore. Only then we can consider letting them have a train journey from West Bengal to the northeast through Bangladesh. So I think we have put them in a little bit of a trouble now.
An important thing, since today we are talking to each other and you have spared your time, 15th of March is a global Islamophobia day. And exactly 3 years ago, United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution. Since our focus of discussion is negative Indian attitude, Islamophobia is on rise in India. So the way there is an hate campaign against Muslims, Muslim identity is being abolished, the historic roads, historic mosques, historic places, they're all Muslim names are being changed. And the Muslim places of worship are also under threat. So on this particular UN Day on Islamophobia, how you see things happening in India against Muslims, which is a source of concern for all Muslims across the world, but particularly for the Muslims of Bangladesh and Pakistan. They express their strong solidarity with Indian Muslims on whatever is happening with them.
Absolutely. You have touched on a topic which is so close to my heart, and I had been talking about it. It's been so shocking the way they have changed the names of historic Muslim places. For example, Allahabad. We talk about the Allahabad High Court, which had made historic verdicts. Allahabad has been named for hundreds and hundreds of years. It has been, this city in Uttar Pradesh has been as famous as Lucknow. They have now changed the name of Allahabad. The railway station in Allahabad is now named after two rivers. And then the train station of Mughal Sarai, which has historic connotations because it involved the Grand Trunk Road, and the very name Mughal Sarai where the train would stop, the Rajdhani Express would stop, and it would remind us of the great Mughal age when this has been renamed as after the Indian saint. The worst of all, in near Sylhet district of Bangladesh, Karimganj, which is the heart of the elite culture in Assam, of the Sylheti people, of Bengali Muslims in Assam, the name of Karimganj has recently been changed in something like after their god Ram or God, which has absolutely no relevance with the cultural history. This is shocking. And then, of course, the Muslims, their prayer houses have been,
Attack,
distorted. It is
devastated.
unthinkable. In Jummah prayers, the Indian police have behaved in a very uncivilized manner. All of it has been recorded by the Western media. We know that the Indians deny all of it, but thank God it has all been recorded. They had, even during the Holi, the festival of Holi, which occurred yesterday, where they throw paints and throw color, the Islamic mosques, the domes had to be covered up with extra thick cloth so that they don't, spoil the walls of the mosques. All of it is happening. Muslims in India feel very scared and very defensive, but they simply don't open up. Yeah, I think it is the historic duty. I had told in the media that there is this mausoleum of Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad Bakhtiar Khilji, who conquered Bengal in the 13th century. He was the founder of Muslim rule in Bengal. Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad Bakhtiar Khilji's grave in Bihar has been disseminated. It's there in a very bad shape. And I have requested that our government should volunteer to rebuild that his mausoleum, which is neglected. I had gone to the extent of even suggesting to the Hindus that their real father of Brahminism is not Gandhi. The real father of Brahminism is Alauddin Khilji. They forget history. It was the great Sultan Alauddin Khilji who saved Hinduism from the Mongol invasions. Had Alauddin Khilji, not resisted the Mongols 5 times. He gave away his eldest son, who became a martyr fighting the Mongols, and he insisted on the Brahmin rulers to have the guts and fight with him against the Mongols. Alauddin Khilji's generals drove away the Mongols and saved Hinduism. Today, had the Mongols successfully entered at that time, it was the same time when Beijing was destroyed, when the Abbasid rule was destroyed in Baghdad. And if the Mongols had succeeded, and if Alauddin Khilji had failed, Hinduism and Brahminism would have died in northern India, but they have no gratitude. They have no sense of loyalty, respect to the great Alauddin Khilji. In fact, Alauddin Khilji was the son of the soil. He was born in Bengal, in Murshidabad, and he became the most powerful sultan during the pre-Mughal era. And his tomb is lying uncared in the outskirts of Delhi. When I visited Delhi once, I went and prayed in his tomb. I went to Mysore. I prayed on the tomb of Tipu Sultan. Thank God Tipu Sultan's mazar is taken care of. But, these great sultans of Delhi, their mazars are neglected. They are not taken. Inshallah, a day will come when these Hindu civilization will realize that India would have never existed as a country had it not been for the Muslims. The contributions of Muslims to the idea, the music, the culture, the food habit, and the integration, the very idea of India is a contribution of the Muslim rule. Unfortunately, this BJP government and the RSS have done so much damage. They even talk of Akhand Bharat. They dream of unifying the Akhand Bharat. That will never happen as long as Pakistan and Bangladesh are alive. We will never let it happen. We always believe in the identity of the Muslims. Our sense of pride lies in the achievements of Muslims in India. And we are trying here to revive the memories of the Sultanate of Bengal. That sultanate had extended all the way to the frontiers of Uttar Pradesh. The Sultanate of Bengal had great kings, had great rulers, but the Indians totally, have erased the history of the great sultans of Bengal who really dominated the eastern part of the subcontinent during the medieval ages. For 300 years, the sultans of Bengal, they were originally Turkish origin, but they interacted and they really introduced the great saints who brought Islam to this part of the subcontinent. So we
Thank you
are we
so
are
much.
very conscious of it.
Mhm. Thank you so much. And the today's point we take from your exclusive conversation that India and Pakistan, with strong friendship, with strong unity, will let India fulfill its dream of making Akhand Bharat in the entire region. And Bangladesh and Pakistan, along with unity, along with friendship, will definitely establish their identity, their culture, and culture of Bangladesh and Pakistan is Muslim culture. And that Muslim culture, which you referred in India, is being erased by extremist Hindus. India will fail in its such designs if Bangladesh and Pakistan ties are more stronger. Thank you so much, Professor Shahiduzzaman Saab. Despite your busy schedule, you spoke on very, very important topics and issues concerning South Asia, concerning Pakistan and Bangladesh, and concerning internal situation in Bangladesh. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Allah Hafiz.